All right, everybody, welcome to another lesson of the Crypto Convo. If you're crypto curious, this is for you. So, today we're going to be talking about, is Bitcoin digital gold? And the answer may surprise you. Now, throughout history or historically, whenever people think of gold, what do they think of? They think of something that's stable, they think of it's physical, and the fact that it's been around since literally the dawn of time. Whereas with Bitcoin, we know Bitcoin is volatile, it's only digital, and it's extremely young, only been around since 2009. So, how come we've been hearing Bitcoin referred to more and more as digital gold over the last 1 to 2, maybe 3 years? Well, it really comes down to, I want to say, three things. So there's three things that make them different, but there's also three things that make them very common. And I'm going to be sharing those with you right now. So let's dive right into it. The first thing that Bitcoin and gold actually have in common is the fact that they are both mined, right? Because, oops, how do I delete this? There we go. Oh, oh God. Got to do the selector. Here we go. Okay, so both assets are actually mined. Now, obviously, gold is physically mined and Bitcoin is uh, digitally mined. But the bottom line is that they're both, in both scenarios, some sort of work has to be done in order to extract and create a Bitcoin or a piece of gold, right? And in both cases, we're not actually creating them; we're simply finding them. And it's a little fun fact about gold is that gold is actually not created on Earth; it actually comes from outer space. And as we know with Bitcoin, or maybe you don't know, but Bitcoin is limited to 21 million tokens that will ever be created. So they work very similarly in how they are mined. And obviously, when it comes to mining, there has to be a break even point for the miners to actually make sense of mining either assets. Now, with gold, obviously, you're drilling, you're using large construction equipment in order to extract the gold, and you're going very deep. It's actually almost, I mean, people like to talk about how harmful mining Bitcoin is to the environment, but I think you could actually argue that mining gold is even more harmful to the environment because you're disrupting the land, you're digging into the ground, like you're shifting the ecology of where you're mining. Whereas with Bitcoin, yes, you are using power, but you're literally just powering a computer, right? So I would actually argue that Bitcoin mining is less harmful to the environment than than gold. I'm looking at digital gold here on the screen. I'm getting it mixed up, but I would definitely say Bitcoin is less harmful to the environment when it comes to mining. And we can talk about this in another video, but Bitcoin mining doesn't actually have to be as harmful to the environment. In fact, it can actually be very good for the environment. We can talk about that another time. So, both of these assets are mined. And by the way, another interesting fact here is that we actually know that Bitcoin is more limited in supply than gold. You know, gold has historically been thought of as a very limited supply asset, right? Again, it can't be created; it has to be mined. Uh, but yet we've been mining gold for the last 2,000 years. I mean, we've been extracting gold from the planet since the dawn of time, and we are still doing that to this day. So we don't really have a time frame or an idea of when the actual gold supply within the earth is actually going to run out. Not to mention, it's rumored or talked about the fact that there may be ample amount of gold in the galaxy on asteroids and things like that. That's something that Elon Musk has actually talked about before as well. Now, something else, and this kind of goes hand in hand with being mined, but again, Bitcoin and digital gold cannot be printed. And this goes into like more of the historical thing. Like, why did people hold gold throughout history? Well, if you know anything about money and the evolution of money, we use gold as money for a very long time. And then eventually in the 1900s, we started backing our dollars with gold at the bank. And so back in the day, and actually you can see this here, this is a silver certificate note, but you could basically take your gold or your silver to the bank and get one of these, a certificate that says, almost like a receipt, almost like taking your laundry to the dry cleaner and getting a receipt saying that you own that laundry. You could go to the bank and redeem one of these silver or gold notes for the equivalent amount of gold or silver that the dollar said you would get. So throughout history, and that was the preferred method of money because it was something that could not be controlled by the government. In fact, the US Constitution actually says that the only real money should be gold and silver. Now, we've obviously deviated off of that severely. In 1971, they actually stopped converting dollars into gold and silver at all. There's a couple other dates in there, but I'm just going to give you the brief overview. But in 1971, they did stop any redemption of these notes into gold all over the world, which is, obviously a history lesson in and of itself. But let's go to the last reason here. And the third reason is that it can be owned free and clear. So what does that actually mean? Well, when you own gold, you can literally take a physical piece of gold, you can put it in a vault, and you don't have to worry about taxes. You don't have to worry about somebody else owning it. Now, obviously, you do have to worry about making sure people aren't stealing your gold, but you are essentially fully responsible for the asset. There's nobody else, if you're holding gold physically, that is responsible for that asset. And the same thing is true with Bitcoin, assuming you own it in a hard wallet, which is the equivalent of a gold safe, right? So, and what's so important about that is that, for example, with real estate, people like to think that they can own real estate free and clear, but yet every year you're having to pay you're gonna have to pay estate taxes on your real estate, your property taxes. And if you don't pay those property taxes, guess what? You're probably not going to own that land or property very much longer. Same thing with stocks. In most cases, stocks are actually held at a brokerage like Fidelity or Vanguard, and you don't actually have free and clear ownership of those stocks. They're held by what's called another person, a third party. So there's actually somebody between you and your asset. Whereas with gold and also Bitcoin, you can own those assets directly, free and clear, and you don't have to worry about a taxation on those assets for holding them over time either. So there we have it. 3 big reasons why Bitcoin is being referred to as digital gold. Now, obviously, Bitcoin is young. Right now, if we look at the numbers, and most people don't know this, but gold is actually worth about 10 to 12 trillion dollars. 10 to 12 trillion dollars, whereas gold or Bitcoin, I keep mixing those two up. But whereas Bitcoin is right now only worth about $384 million. And so if Bitcoin is truly a digital gold, we should, in theory, see Bitcoin become worth as much as gold. 384. And what would that actually put one Bitcoin at? Well, if we run the numbers here, we can do 12, let's just call it 10 trillion, 100,000 million, billion, trillion. There's so many zeros. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 zeros makes a trillion. Okay. And that's how big gold is. And surprisingly, it's actually the smallest investable asset class besides silver and, of course, now crypto. But it's smaller than stocks, real estates, bonds. I mean, literally everything. It's the smallest investable asset class outside of silver and crypto. And I'm talking about major asset classes like I just named. But if Bitcoin were to get to 20 or to 10 trillion and there's only 21 million in existence, that would make one Bitcoin worth $476,190. And so this is why you see these insane price predictions on Bitcoin over the long term. Now, will that happen? How soon will that happen? We really don't have a calendar. We don't have a date. We don't have a prediction for that. But I anticipate that this could very well happen during my lifetime. I'm 25, so I could definitely see this playing out over the next 40 to 50 years. Really depends a lot on what happens over these next few years and everything that we're going through right now. Now, historically, whenever you digitize something, and some examples here are like Google or Uber or Amazon or Netflix. The value of that actual sector or market or company grows by multiples. So think about how much the Encyclopedia Britannica was worth before Google. Now look at how big Google is. Google is literally one of the largest companies in the world. Think about how much Blockbuster was worth, and then what happened to Netflix now that it's digital. Or think about how big the taxi cab industry was, and now how big Uber and Lyft are, right? So whenever you digitize, take something from analog to digital, right? From pen and paper to digital on your phone. I mean, the opportunity for growth absolutely explodes. So it's possible that Bitcoin, if it truly is digital gold, could even become worth as much as 20 to 30 trillion dollars, and that would put Bitcoin at that 1 million to possibly $2 million price range. Now, again, there is no timetable on this, but this is what's within the realm of possibility. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning into this live video. If you do have a question, drop it down below. I'll be sure to put something together for you like this. And I look forward to being part of your crypto journey. Liam, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.